And ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Robert Forster. And ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for HILARY SWANK. Good evening indeed. And okay, so you're all watching this movie thinking like, oh my God, this is really hitting home. I think it hits home for a lot of us, not just for the obvious reasons, but you know, many of us in LA, especially in this room, obviously work in the biz, and we're transplants. So you know, there's that added element, like where your character who from California goes home to Chicago. Anyway, but Elizabeth, this is a personal story for you. What inspired this?
Hello, thank you all for being here. Yes, this was quite a personal endeavor that I undertook out of a place of grief, really my own personal grief. I didn't expect to be here in front of all of you. Certainly not with these wonderful folks, but it was just something I wrote inspired by my family and the things that we went through with my grandmother and her memory loss. And it was just a way to kind of capture something I didn't want to forget, you know, learning through watching her how precious memories are. And I didn't quite realize how much I was taking them for granted. And this was a special memory that I didn't, you know, and special people that I didn't want to let go of. So it was like time traveling to be able to write the screenplay and certainly to be able to capture it with this kind of wonderful collaboration.
How long did it take you to write the screenplay? I'm just curious.
Well, the first draft I wrote very quickly, like 3 days.
Wow.
And then I looked at that recently and it wasn't very good. So I probably did, I would say 30 drafts after that. Yeah. You know, there was some of the things were there, like the scene, the structure was there, and a lot of the stuff that's great was there, but it was a mess. And so, yeah, about 30 drafts over the course of, it's been 7 years since that first draft to this day. So.
Well, when it comes to casting, I mean, this is because it is such a deeply personal story. You know, you really, I mean, any movie, of course, you want to get the casting just right, but this one definitely does. You know, what made Robert and HILARY the perfect Bert? And Bridget, thank you.
Well, I just knew that with a piece like this, the acting was everything. If I didn't have the performances, I wouldn't have the movie. If they didn't feel like family, that would not be successful. And HILARY was sent it, and it was like I never thought in my wildest imagination that I would be able to collaborate with her. So there's nobody better. So yes, indeed. And Robert, I knew all along. Robert was always it for me, like from very early draft. I don't know, there was something about it that felt so right. There was a character that he played in The Descendants, Alexander Payne's wonderful film, that I always loved that character and wanted to see more of him. Of course, the movie's wonderful, and I felt like this might be that sort of opportunity to see more of that guy.
You know, she's obviously Elizabeth. She's very humble, because the thing is when you read this script, you say, oh, it's, you know, the acting, and I mean, it's all a collaboration, right? But, and I know we've talked about this a lot, Robert, you and I have just talked about, it was so beautiful. It was such a gem of a script, and it's so rare to come across. You know, I would say probably 1 in 50 scripts is great. So when you find it, you just try not to mess it up. You know, you kind of say, oh, just let me do justice to the story. So it was on the page, and it was fun actually developing the script further. We worked together a little bit before everyone came on board and just refining but that's.
Yeah, and you brought things that I couldn't clear up on my own, like a problem in the script that I could not ever find the answer to.
Well, I don't know if you couldn't ever, but the thing is, the beautiful thing about something is that you're so close to it too, right? And so some things that you might have wanted to say, you might have been like, oh, is that, and we're like, yes, we're supporting the idea that is a great idea, and on and on.
Love fest.
Keep it going, I love this. Yeah, Robert, I know you've referred to this movie as a gem. What was it that made this role so special for you, and something that you really cherish as one of your favorite of your career?
Yes. When I first read it, I said to myself, well, this is very close to me. I'm a father a long time. I've got a lot of kids, got grandchildren. And when I read it, I thought, well, this is me speaking. So it was not a stretch at all. And just on your part, I said to myself, God, there aren't that many old actors around. So, the pool is small. So and I can say with simple clarity, I've worked for more than 50 years, and this is the best part I've ever had.
Rookie mistake.
Right there, mic dropping.
So verklempt. I want to ask, in recent years, and we were just talking about this movie outside, I'll See You in My Dreams. Blythe Danner is lovely and wonderful in this movie. And this is, of all the roles in the film, probably the one that's closest to your heart because it was so personal for you. What was it like getting to work with her, and how did she prepare to play someone going through this?
Well, we had a very short schedule and a very quick, urgent go moment, and Blythe was pretty, nervous about stepping in to play this role because she didn't ever have any exposure to this disease personally, and she very bravely took a leap of faith, and I wanted Blythe because I felt like what I had seen in my grandmother was this childlike spirit that had developed in her as she sort of became this ghost kind of hovering on she also had this wonderful childlike spirit. And Blythe has that. And she also is a very present actor where she's just reacting to whatever's coming, and there's a ton of spontaneity with her. And of course that was how my grandmother was, right? Because if you have no frame of reference for what happened 20 seconds ago, you're just trying to get the clues from, oh, yes, I can talk to you, and that way, yes, oh, and so I just felt like she had the right energy. But she was incredibly brave and took a huge leap, and I think she's beautiful in this movie.
A film that it's about 10 years old or 11 years old. It's Away from Her, and that too is a film that ends on such a poignant and profound note. And Hilary, the scene towards the end of this movie with you and Blythe, where she's saying, "I'm glad it happened now, not before when I couldn't, when it would have been too hard, or later when I would have forgotten." I mean, that was such a beautiful, beautiful scene, so well written, but also so well acted between you and Blythe. And what was it like working with her, especially at moments like that?
Blythe is this, she's so, she too is so humble, and she's you give her a compliment, she's like, don't say that, don't, no. She deflects all the time, right? And when you're working with her and afterwards you'll say, "You were so beautiful in that scene." She'll say, "Don't say that because then I'm just going to be thinking about that and I'm going to carry on." And then after, when we saw the movie, I said, do you see what I was talking about? She's like, no. I'm like, the movie's over. Take it. I'm going to tell you. It's not, you're not going to go do another scene now. And so I made her take it in, and I said, just say thank you. And she's like, oh, well, thank you. But she's, she's like any of us artists, you know, you do a take and you're like, oh God, I hope it worked, you know. And we were, you know, I would look at her and go, did that work? Did I do all right? She's like, oh yes. And then, you know, she in turn would be like, oh, I think I messed that up. And I'm like, no, you know. So it's just artists, all of us trying to figure out from one step to the next, and hoping again that we do service to a beautiful script. And and we had Elizabeth guiding us the whole time in a really articulate and smart way, but also a really egoless way. It's really challenging to work with a writer who's also the director most of the time, right? Mm-hmm. You'll do a scene and, you know, you're waiting for them to comment, and a lot of times they'll run in and say, it's and, not and. You know, or it's the, not but. And you know, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to get every word perfect, because they're holding on to it. And Elizabeth, a lot of the time, was like, if it doesn't feel right, don't say it. Just don't say it. You know the character better than I do now. So that was not exactly the answer to your question.
No, that's a great answer anyway.
But it was great to work with Blythe. It was a gift to work with Robert. It was, you know, Michael Shannon is someone that I've been wanting to work with forever. So as actors, when we get the opportunity to collaborate with people like this, it's like a master class. You know, you just sit there and you just are a sponge, and you absorb, and you just allow it to seep in and hopefully help you grow.
You know, one of the other things I love about the film is how lived in the cast feels. I mean, it feels, as it should, like a family. And I'm wondering how Robert, you know, and everybody didn't go running back to their massive trailers. Everyone sort of like hung out and stayed present with everyone else. Is that right?
Yep, it was a very family atmosphere, and the thing about Elizabeth, it was not just a wonderfully written script, but on the set, Elizabeth gave the actors the feeling that they could believe that the words were their own. It's a grace note that somebody hands you that, in addition to a wonderful script, and there's a lot of actors in the room. Have we got a lot of actors here?
Of course.
Okay, a lot of us are actors. Okay, we've all done scenes in classes, yes? Somebody should take a look at the scene where I tell her about memory care, and do that in a class. You will know how it feels to stand up for someone that you love and wish to protect. It is a wonderful scene. It is beautifully written. Shakespeare could not have written a better scene than that. Take a shot at it. It is something to work on, honestly. There's so many things in this picture. And in casting, when I remember the very first movie I did it with John Huston, and John Huston said, casting is 90%. And from that, I assumed he meant that once you cast the right person, your job is 90% over. And when you cast somebody who really knows what they're doing and can bring something to it, then you have the best job in the world, I am sure, besides the job that we had, which was better than the best job in the world.
Yeah, the other thing I gravitated toward in this movie is, you know, when you're young, when you're growing up, you know, a lot of us feel like their parents have all the answers, and they're perfect. They're going to ask their parents for advice, and their parents will give them advice, and it's got to be right because it's from your parents. And then, you know, you get to a certain age, you know, it could happen to 30.
Oh my God, they're flawed. What are they doing?
Exactly. Well, not just that, but the kid becomes the parent. The role reversal.
Parenting your parent.
Yes.
And co-parenting with your sibling who you've never really got along with. Yes, exactly. Like and I think it happens to really all of us at some point, you know, and it can really divide a family, and that's certainly what happened in my family. And we all thought we were so dysfunctional, but it's amazing how many people are like, yeah, this is happening right now, and this has ruined my relationship with my brother or my sister. And I just don't think we're really preparing ourselves for these types of conversations and these types of power shift. That seems inevitable, really.
It also, in this case, I mean, it might pull them apart a little temporarily, but then it ultimately brings them back together. And you know, that plot twist in the movie. Yeah, I didn't see that coming. Did you? I mean, was that true?
Yes, actually, sort of, yeah. I mean, my grandmother was diagnosed really young, 68, and my grandfather took care of her for like 8 years, and then she started to get to that place where she couldn't really be at home when we were starting to ask those tough questions. And he didn't, it wasn't exactly like that. I dramatized it quite significantly, but you know, he did die much earlier than we were hoping, and it broke my heart because he was young and healthy, and it felt like that phenomenon when, you know, a couple that's been together for 60 years, and then one of those couple passes away, and then the other one is gone 3 months later. You know, it feels like that moment where you just can't really live without the other person. And that's what it had felt like, that she was leaving him, and he couldn't live without her. So I just, you know, I wanted to understand that and, right, you know, and capture that somewhere.
I think the other thing that a lot of people, certainly we were talking about this in the lobby when I saw this at Sundance in January, you know, you're just living your life, you're doing your thing, you're dealing with your own problems, you're wrapped up in yourself, and you're like, wait a minute, you know, we're not going to be here forever, your parents are not going to be here forever. Really to like be in the moment as much as you can. I felt like that was something that we all sort of got out of this movie. We all got out of this movie. Is that something that you were hoping that you people would get? Anybody weigh in?
Life is short, 50, 75 seasons, 100 maybe. First you're born and you can't take care of yourself. You gotta rely on the ones who parented you. And then a few years go by and you can take care of yourself. And a few more years go by and you're expected to take care of yourself. But for most of the rest of the arc of your life, you are expected to take care of others. This is the human condition until the very end when you can no longer take care of yourself and have to rely on the ones that you parented. You better do a good job, Bob. And we are all somewhere on that arc. And our job for most of our life, all the other things are superfluous, jobs and entertainment and amusement. Taking care of others is what we really do in the human condition. And this is a beautiful movie about people who are taking care of each other.
It's also the idea of it being the multi-generational like that. You know, what movies you get to see, what you talk about, you're like, there's so few roles for you, and Blythe says the same.
Boy, I'll say.
And then you have, you know, my generation, and then Thaisa's. It's just nice to see a nice mix of men and women. You know, it's comprised of a lot of different, you know, people, and that's beautiful and rare.
Thank you. I wrote it to self-soothe, really. You know what I'm saying? You're saying like that something about it gives you some sense of like, you know, feeling like it's okay. And I wrote it to make myself feel okay. And I wrote it to give to, I'm the eldest grandchild and I'm the oldest sibling, and I'm a, you know, caretaker for all of them. Like, I wanted to fix the generational wound of losing, you know, our beloved patriarch and matriarch. I wanted to fix those things and soothe everybody and make that go away, that wound. So I don't know, I'm glad that someone else feels some part of that.
Absolutely. I would love to open this up to the audience for questions because I know you got something. You're the first. What's your question?
What was the part of the script that you couldn't solve and that the collaboration helped you solve it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Bridget, the character that Hilary plays, was really a kind of an enigma to me because she's certainly the most me in the screenplay, and kind of, you know, coping with some things that I myself struggle with. And I think I really had a hard time trying to conjure who she really was. Because it was so me, it was like hard to, she felt like an enigma, a mystery that I couldn't quite pin down. I didn't have that like distance. And so as soon as I met Hilary, the very first time I saw her, it was like, oh oh my gosh, there she is. Oh my gosh, there she is. And then we talked, and it was just like so profoundly beautiful. And so together, I think, just in our shared experiences and certainly her instincts as an actor, I mean, they're so strong, and I think all actors have amazing instincts. And Hilary had just such profound instincts about this character that it really helped fix that piece, which helped kind of, make the script better as a whole.
That's what I was trying to say earlier, and you said it so much better because it was from your experience, and I think that would be challenging writing something from, that it's looking at yourself outside of yourself is hard, and it's also vulnerable. And what's interesting is this is probably the most vulnerable role I've ever played, because I'm not playing a character, I'm playing a woman who's struggling to find her way. And I didn't realize that it was so vulnerable till I was in it. And I talked to you about that after scenes. I was like, oh, And so that's what's so great. And you guys know about being an actor is we get to tap into moments that feel so raw. They feel like us, or we learn from the character, or we we walk in their shoes and say, "Whoa, I never really thought about it like that." And then there's other times when it's so close to home, it's almost too hard to tackle.
Right there. Sorry, nice and loud.
Hi, these are great roles. You guys are wonderful on the screen there. I just love watching every moment of it. I was really pulled in.
Thank you.
My question is for Elizabeth. What was it that made this sort of a click project? I always admire hearing when somebody can write something quickly. I'm an actor who also writes, and usually things take a long time. And I was just wondering, was this a click project? And if it was, can you talk a little bit about the writing process that brought you to write this?
The writing process, was it a quick project?
Do you say quick or click?
Like it clicked.
Like all of a sudden
I have to
just,
write this.
oh, well, yes, it did actually, it was that. I was sitting in this church watching my mother give a eulogy very similar to the eulogy that Hilary's character gives. And I had this very profound flash of like, somebody's making this movie, someone. And I'm looking around this church in Illinois, and I'm like, well, who is it? Who's here that, can make this movie? And it did not occur to me that it was going to be me. It really didn't. And I'm so stupid, and I think that says something about our, the voices that we don't think we belong to telling. That we don't, our voice doesn't matter, and our voice isn't worth hearing. And a few months later, I realized I don't think all those people are like farmers, like that were in that church. I think I should probably start this thing. And so it was, and it was very much a click project, and that's, and then it took time to develop the relationships and really mine it for dramatization and for wonderful roles. I knew I was going to have a hard time being a first timer, and really making the movie makeable as much as I could, and these roles as good as I could get them. So, yeah.
You.
The work is so emotional. I wonder if what your approach was in preparing for it, or rehearsal time, because we hardly ever get rehearsal time.
Rehearsal on this?
I think Blythe came in the day before, Michael Shannon 3 days before, you maybe 4 days before.
Yeah, we had no time.
And this budget, I mean, it was the smallest budget I've ever worked on, even smaller than Boys Don't Cry, yeah. This movie was shot in 27 days.
No, 22.
What? 22. I thought it was 27. 22? How is that possible?
Yeah, 22. It was crazy. We had no time to rehearse. But that really was a testament to just how they were just like, here we are, and we're family, and they just really fell into step like that so quickly.
One of the other fun things in it being a low budget is you are just you're working all the time, right? We do low budgets, and that's more common now anyway than any other type of movie, unless you're dressed up with something over your face, like, you know, playing something that crawls on the wall. Right? So we didn't go back to trailers like you were saying, and we were really in our parents' house, and we'd be hanging out in a room, and we'd be like family. I mean, sometimes, you know, Michael and Thaisa joke around all the time, because Thaisa would be getting, you know, prepared, and Mike would be like, hey, and she's like, can't you see I'm preparing? You know, it was very family-like. Or, you know, then we'd just get really tired and be slap happy together and joking, and then all of a sudden they had to shoot in that room, and we'd kind of pick our chair up. I don't even think we had chairs, actually. And we'd just our script and go into another room and hang out. So it was a lot of hanging out and getting to know each other and the little in-between moments.
Yeah, and look, we do what all actors do. Everybody here who's been on a set and knows that you wait around until it's time to work, and bam, you become what you need to be in the scene, and it is what all actors do. You immediately assume intimacy, and I keep waiting for somebody to say, did you have a favorite line in the movie?
Did you have a favorite line in the movie?
What's your favorite line in the movie, Robert Forster?
77, fuck the Camry. There were lots of funny things in this movie, and when I read this, I said to myself, there was a movie several years ago that I didn't see for a long time, and waited. Everybody said it was a great movie, and I never saw it. Finally, I went to see Big Fat Greek Wedding, and I realized I saw my family in that movie, and I think that people will see themselves and their family in this movie. It is the kind of thing which really makes you understand yourself and your family. It is one of the nice things about this movie.
We all know dysfunction, and we all love each other in spite of it, right? When you're your own family, and then anyone tries to talk about your family, you're like, hey. Well, you just said that. Yeah, I did, but not you.
You're gonna want to say that. Got time for one more question. One more question. You got a good question? Yeah, in the back. Okay, you in the back. Yes, it's yours. It spoke to you. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's just so empowering to see this, and it's so encouraging for me. And I'm sure there's others here that are first time viewers, maybe, I don't know. But I'm just so proud of all of you guys, and I hope this thing goes all over the world, because it needs to be seen, and it needs to be heard. And Robert and Hillary plan on working together again.
Right.
So much. Thank you so much. Oh, yes. I'm gonna keep writing. Still writing. Yes. You should too.
Yeah, all of us. You know, the thing is it's. I think one of the toughest businesses in the world. But you know, when you love it like we love it, it's so joyful when you're doing it, and I feel like getting the opportunity to live your dream and to persevere and to never give up. Don't ever give up. You know, I feel ya. Really. And the thing is it's like, it's in us, right? And you have to persevere. And when you get the opportunity to work with people that are such a joy and such an inspiration, I always say it's like you travel somewhere else, and when they say cut, you're like, oh, where'd we go? And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to be able to tell stories and to be an audience member. I love going to movies and watching movies and being transported to either learn from them or relate to them or be entertained by them. It's universal. It transcends gender, and it transcends all things, and it unites us in such a profound way. And that's what I felt from you. And thank you for your heartfelt kindness. Thank you all for being here, for supporting us, for supporting cinema, and maybe we're all going to be in something together one of these days.
Ladies and gentlemen, What They Had opens October 19th. Please spread the word. Thank you so much for being here.